Hi, Sapna. Thank you so much for coming on the Thrival Nutrition podcast today. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here. Where are you located?
I'm in Aliso Viejo, California, Orange County.
Nice, awesome. Just go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit about who you are, what you do, kind of how you came into the field that you're in right now.
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder of Raising Sages Integrative Pediatrics, along with my holistic husband, who is a holistic pediatrician, integrative functional medicine doctor. And we've had this practice for 5 years, but I've been in the medical industry for probably about 20 years. And I started off as a nurse, 1997. Then I became a nurse practitioner in about 2002. And then I went to the School of Integrative Nutrition and graduated in 2012 and became a holistic integrative health coach. And then from there, I've done all kinds of things. I've traveled all over the world. I've studied Ayurveda in India, 2013. I've studied pranic healing, which is like an energy medicine, in Thailand and Sri Lanka. I've done all these functional nutrition courses. And so I'm always learning.
I love that. Same thing. I love learning, especially I feel like when you're in health, it's something that you have to keep up on. There's always new things, new studies, new things to do and practice. So I love that. Tell us, I know we're talking about Ayurveda today, tongue twister for me. What is this? Because I know, it's in Eastern medicine, not very common that we'll find a lot of normal, like doctor, I don't want to say normal doctors, conventional, traditional trained doctors. So I would love to hear more about it and why it's so important.
Yeah, well, I basically got into this whole system because of my training. My allopathic training wasn't serving me, and this is how I learned about Ayurveda. So quickly, I can just, before like a preload to what Ayurveda is, I basically, when I was studying I was training to be a nurse practitioner, and I had this patient. While I was training to be a nurse practitioner, I was actually working as a home health nurse. And I had this patient who I actually saw him in the clinic, and I was prescribing him lisinopril, which is for blood pressure. And I was at his home doing, and I loved working as a home health nurse because I got to see how they lived. I got to see their family. I got to see how they ate. And that gave me all the answers that I needed. So I was basically prescribing him high blood pressure medications. And then one day I was at his house and I saw the whole countertop was filled with Campbell's soup cans. And I was like, oh my gosh, each can is 900 milligrams of sodium. And here I am prescribing lisinopril. So I thought, if every doctor could go into someone's home and see what it is they're eating and how they're living, I don't think there would be sickness anymore. And so that's when I really realized that nutrition can either slowly kill you or heal you. Yeah. So, and then my kids had some food allergies, and when they were younger, and my youngest one, basically, she had, when she was born, she didn't have formed stools. And so she had all this bloating and she had digestive distress. And we went to every single doctor. And they're like, oh, there's nothing wrong with her. Her labs are normal. And so my husband's like, okay, we'll go to the next one. We'll go to the next one. This guy has 30 years experience. We'll go here. We'll go to the top, the top doctors, his professors. We did this for 6 years. Every year we were going. Yeah. And all the tests, she was always bloated, but she was happy. She was smart. So they didn't really say anything. Finally, when she was 6 years old, my husband said, okay, this doctor at Children's Dallas, which is like the top children's, hospitals when we were living in Texas, he said, this guy's got 30 years experience. If he can't heal her, then I don't know who can heal her. So we go there, and of course we go there, and so they're like, oh yeah, she's bloated, but she's good, there's nothing wrong, her labs are normal. And I'm like, but no, her stools aren't formed, she's bloated, and so my husband's like, all right, I know you like all those, natural people. He wasn't into holistic medicine then, and I've always been more of a natural person. He's like, you love all that, natural stuff, go to naturopathic doctor, that's what you want, because I love naturopathic doctors. So we just go to one, just nothing famous, just down the street, and we go to them, and she just does a food allergy test, and she finds out she's allergic to wheat. And within 3 days, her stomach was completely flat, her bowels were normal, everything was normal. In 3 days, 6 years, this poor girl suffered, and then my oldest one, she had some sort of food allergies, and I just put her on the GAPS diet, which I'm sure you've heard of. Put her on the GAPS diet. I healed her in 4 days. And so then I was like, wow, food is pretty amazing. right? It causes so many problems. And it's like, oh my God. And this really humbled my husband, because he's like, whoa, so, and that's how I got into Ayurveda too. That's when I started noticing, like, basically I noticed that like my two kids were different kids, and I didn't know anything. I'm from India, and I didn't know anything about Ayurveda until I had my own kids. And so what happened was I was noticing I had two different kids. Like I remember one day, and this will kind of set into the different body types. I had, once I was driving the car, I think my oldest was 4, my youngest was like a little under 2. And I look in the rearview mirror, and the youngest one, it was like a 70-degree day. She was overheating. Okay, she's overheating, and I'm looking at her, I'm like, maybe she's, got a fever. So I pull over, I take off her sweater. She's completely red. Her cheeks are red. And I pull over, and I said, we only have 7 or 8 minutes more to go home. Then I'll put her in a cool bath. I get home, she's completely fine, because I had taken off her sweater in the car. I thought, this is kind of odd. I thought she had a fever. She was very warm to the touch. The other one was fine. The other one was like, in her sweater. I had a sweater. It was a 72-degree spring day. That was one clue. Second clue, when they sleep at night, I noticed when I would go in, and all of you moms could also kind of relate these to your own kids. One child, when I would tuck them in at night, would be sleeping like this, with all her sheets all over the place, legs out. And she'd have these like little beads of sweat just kind of on her forehead. And then the other child would be like the blankets covered in a ball, and it wasn't hot in the house. It wasn't cold. It was just right. But I noticed that one child ran very hot and one child ran very cold. So, and one was very like always hungry, voraciously hungry, had a very strong appetite. And the other one was like, I could care less about food. There's always little clues that I'm going to teach you that you're going to know your kid's body type. And so, and then one's really competitive and one could care less. Yeah. So these are the little things that I've noticed that I didn't know this was Ayurveda. I didn't know anything about it. I just thought that it was like, they were just different. So later on, I noticed that basically in going into Ayurveda, to answer your question, it's basically a 5,000-year-old system that originated in India. And it's basically, they never used to write this down. It was passed on from generation to generation through sages. And it's basically one of the most powerful mind-body health systems in India. And its premise is basically your habits are basically, your body's health is a result of your habits of your lifetime. That's pretty much the premise. So you can really see how someone lives by looking at their habits. And basically Ayur means life and Veda means science or the knowledge of. So basically it's the science of life.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's exactly what it is. I love that. I've only slowly maybe read 1 or 2 things on it. And I just love, like, what is it? I don't know. There's all these unique words like dosha, and I don't know. It's just super cool to just for you to be talking about it. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, I guess, kind of break it down for us in the way that you feel like would be easy for someone like me that doesn't know anything about it. Yeah. Do you start with the 3 body types and then you move down? Is there a way to break it down easy?
Well, I honestly feel like, okay, so if you guys, the whole reason I do this, the why that I do this is because if you guys got your child's body type or your own body type, you'll be able to prevent diseases before they start.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and not only that, you'll be so intuitive and knowledgeable on how the body works. You just know, okay, this is going to happen next. So that's why I feel like it's like the root of all roots. So
yep.
It's the root of all roots. It's 5,000 years old. All the kinks have been worked out.
I love that.
There are 3 body types in Ayurveda. Vata, which is connected to air and space. Pitta, which is fire. And Kapha, which is earth and water. Okay. So the Vata is the air and the space. And you might want to look at the Vata person, child, adult, whoever you want to put into that, as a thin-built person. Kind of like the ectomorph, kind of like how we learned in science class, ectomorph, endomorph. This is the ectomorph child who can't gain weight very easily, very connected to space, air. They have quick minds. They're very creative, but this type has a lot of digestive issues. So what you're going to see in the Vata child is what they call it is your digestive fire in India in Sanskrit is called Agni. Okay, so if you want to you call it your Agni, but it's really in functional medicine, they call it hydrochloric acid. It's all the same thing. So we knew about this thousands of years ago, before functional medicine. So basically, the Vata child has the least amount of hydrochloric acid or Agni. Okay, so when you have low hydrochloric acid, you don't digest your foods well and you don't absorb nutrients, right? I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
So this child gets bloated a lot, gets constipated. They have dry skin because they're connected to air. So basically, the remedy for this child is you want to give them opposites. In Ayurveda, to balance someone, you give them the opposite of what they are. So the Vata child, who's very dry and airy and spacey, these are the children who also get like ADHD.
Okay.
They basically, you want to give them the opposite. So soups, stews, oily foods, nuts, seeds, all of that kind of stuff. That basically balances that child.
Okay.
Also, oil massage is very good for this child because the oil basically helps the nervous system, and Vata children are very nervous system based kids. They all go together. So those are two great remedies for that. And then the next body type is Pitta. Pitta people are the medium built people, kind of like I believe they were called the mesomorphs. I can't remember, it was science from high school, but I'm just trying to help people to relate to what exactly it is. But basically, the Pitta people are connected to fire. So their digestion is very strong. They are very focused. They're very driven. They're competitive. You can already tell which children I have by just listening to this. But they're very driven. They're very intense people. When they want something, they get it done.
That's my daughter.
And the flip side of this is, the con is, since they are very intense, they don't know how to relax. So people need a lot of otherwise they're just on all the time. They get frustrated very easily. They get angry. They have liver issues. They criticize, but those are the bad parts of the Pitta. I forgot to tell you, the good side of the Vata is that they're very creative and they're very intuitive. So they're almost psychic because they're connected to air. The Pitta people, they get too intense and they get angry. So the thing what you want to do with
my husband.
the thing you want to do with them is, due to the acidic nature of their blood, you want to alkalinize their blood. So you want to give them alkaline rich foods, like cooling foods, mints and cucumbers and things that bring down that high fire, like green. They actually do well. And in Ayurveda, we don't talk about raw food very much because it's not really good for digestion, but Pitta people do the best with that. Raw foods, green foods, sprouted foods, green leafy vegetables, cooling foods, fruits. That's very good for the Pitta person, but not for a Vata child. So, and then you also want to help them to learn how to relax too, because these people they're just intense. They can't relax.
Yes, that's my husband. He's always on the go, go, go. Always been like that since he was little, just mind racing all the time.
Yes, that's my husband too.
Yep.
And then the third one is Kapha. Kapha is the more heavy set person. They're very giving. They're very loving. They're very easygoing. Let's just, sit on the sofa and everything's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. That kind of thing. They're very giving, very loving people and just very giving. They're connected to earth and water. So they're just more grounded. I actually get along very well with Kapha people because I'm Vata, and Kapha, remember, opposites kind of balance each other, and they just kind of bring my blood pressure down. I could feel it. It's like, oh, you just feel so nice. But they are actually, the con of them is they sometimes can be a couch potato and can get lazy.
Too relaxed.
Too relaxed. So basically, they actually can get diseases like obesity, diabetes, edema, which is water retention, all of that stuff. So this person needs drying type foods. They need foods like spicy foods, crunchy foods, drying foods, astringent foods like lemons, grapefruits, millet, buckwheat. These things kind of dry that person. And the best thing for a kapha is to basically wake up in the morning and break a sweat. That's the best for them because that'll set their whole day.
Right. It's the opposite of, if they're extreme, of being like a super lazy couch potato. Very interesting. And it's very interesting as you kind of explain them. I thought about them in my head. I'm like, okay, I'm imagining this person with this. And I feel like I know people, that's exactly people that I know in life.
Yeah.
To the T. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And so when you, outside of food, what else can be done for these people? Or with Ayurveda, looking at that, knowing their body type, and there starts to become an issue, do you automatically just kind of go to that root cause? So like the first one that you mentioned, having digestive issues, is that like the first thing you would start to like really inquire about and do stool testing and really, figure it out first?
Actually, once you start seeing those things, digestive problems, you've missed many other things. So Ayurveda is actually even simpler than that. There's really 4 aspects of Ayurveda, okay? And it's actually so simple that today we call this lifestyle medicine, but it's really like common sense. I mean, seriously, people don't like to hear that, but it's really common sense. So basically,
I get that. Trust me, the least favorite things that my clients hate to hear is the whole, you got to reduce your stress, you got to exercise, and finding out what works for them. But it's just like kind of common sense, but
right.
they're
So
like, I want a magic pill.
no, it's totally true because and this common sense is free. And people come to us and they're like, they are on so many supplements. They're like, we're not on pharmaceuticals, but we're on these supplements, carnitine, and all these great functional supplements. But guess what? They're not working. And then they come to me and then they say, I should have seen you first before I saw the doctors, because basically, I'm going to tell you to do things that I will tell you 75% of your problems are going to go away before you go and see the doctor. So basically, here's the common sense things. Food. Your food is your number one thing. It has to be real. It has to be real. Freshly prepared, no leftovers. That's the first premise of Ayurveda, is eating fresh every day. Because basically, the older the food, and I know moms are going to be like, oh my God,
No.
I can't. But if you plan, you don't have to. The most part of cooking is thinking what you're going to cook.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you meal plan instead of meal prep, because otherwise I knew people who will cook on Sunday and eat the same food all week long. And I get we're busy, but that food's got a ton of bacteria in it by like the second day. It's got low energy, low prana, no, low chi. And these foods make your DNA. They make your whole body. They make you think. So that's the first premise. Eating the rainbow, eating all the different fruits and vegetables of all the whole colors, because they open up all the chakra systems of the body because they're different colors. So that's the first thing. Number 2 would be sleep. Sleep is like, I know that sounds, again, common sensey, but you would be surprised how many people are on sleeping medications, but you want to basically maximize the circadian rhythm. That's the main thing you want to do. So within waking up in the morning, you get up and you see the sun. Within 45 minutes to an hour, you go outside. I don't care what's the weather like, you go outside. If you're lucky to live by the beach, you go for a walk on the beach. I tell my kids, go in the backyard, ground yourself in the grass with the sun. And that's what they do, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Because that basically, if you go out first thing in the morning, or I'm saying within an hour, don't wear sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what that is, it increases the cortisol levels, which you want them to be high in the morning. And people always ask me, what are the secrets to great sleep? I said, the secret to great sleep is what you do in the morning first. Yes. So if you're inside all day, you're not going to be able to balance your melatonin, your serotonin, and your cortisol. So you wake up in the morning and if you go outside, and if you're at work all day, go outside during your breaks. Just make sure, hopefully you have windows in your office. Make sure you're out more than you're in. It can't always happen. I get that, but at least in the morning, the first thing, just don't get in the car and race, because this will increase your cortisol, which increases your serotonin, which decreases your melatonin. And then at night, you want to do sleep training, which is like 3 hours before you go to bed. After sundown, you want to start keeping the house kind of like dim. Like in the olden days, they used to use candles and fire. Obviously, I'm not going to do that with kids, but you can turn on like dim lights, maybe get red lights, or you can use those salt lamps in the house.
I love those.
And it's a great ambiance, and it's basically telling the body subtly it's time to go down, unwind. And then no electronics before bed, no TV, no computers, no phones, no e-readers, none of that. Because basically that blue light is going to negatively impact your cortisol. So there are times where you want to do work. I'm guilty of it too. And I've got work to do at night, especially when it's wintertime and it gets dark at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
I have work to do. So I'll just wear those funky little orange glasses, the blue blocking glasses, and I have some for my kids. And I'm like, if you guys want to watch a movie tonight, fine, but
Yes.
Wear these glasses. We all look like aliens, but I don't really care because it's protecting your sleep.
Yes.
And then basically, honestly, sleep is so important. If the earlier you get to bed, the better your hormones are. And your cortisol basically, you don't want it to be high so late at night. So what is more rejuvenating? If someone goes to bed at 12 o'clock midnight and wakes up at 8, or goes to bed at 8 and wakes up at 4 a.m.?
Oh, the second.
The second, right.
Second one's my jam. I like, that's ideal. Obviously it's not perfect and mine's more of like 9 or 10, but that is, I'm a more naturally morning person. I really want to capitalize on the morning versus being up late.
Well, that's fantastic because you're basically protecting your health, because the 4 hours that you get to sleep before the hour of midnight are the most rejuvenating.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they both slept 8 hours, the 4 hours before midnight is more rejuvenating. So that's the second thing. So the third thing, I was going to read you a quote. I wanted to read you. Let me see if I can find it. I'll find it. The third thing is just basically go out and in nature. I can't even tell you how many people come into our office and they have not gone, their kids don't go out all day. They're sitting inside with their electronics and they're not making vitamin D. They're not in tune with nature. And the more you go out into the forest, into playing the dirt, go to the beach, you're getting all the microbiome, the algae, the minerals, the dirt, the lavender that's coming off the trees, the pine trees. All of these things actually make up your microbiome. So these are natural probiotics, right? And all of our kids are sitting inside and reading these, phones, and their phone is their probiotic. Nothing is working, and then it's like, oh, can you put me on a probiotic? Why don't you take your kid outside? And it's free. Again, it's free. You see, they don't go outside. They don't know they don't make vitamin D anymore. So this doesn't make their hormones anymore. So then again, they're like, oh, can you put me on vitamin D? But outside it's free, just 20 minutes on the skin, naked, on your arms.
Me and my friend were just talking about that last night of like, man, when we were kids, we would be running around the woods, building forest or tents or whatnot, and just like playing, like imaginary play even. And I remember being probably my son's age, my son's 9, being like 10 and just still like role playing and just playing without like even just toys. And then now like seeing kids that are his age, like they've lost it. They don't have that play like we used to. And they're inside and they'd rather play Fortnite instead of going outside. And it's kind of sad for sure. I think I was the last generation that really capitalized on that.
I think it's electronics that has done it. So.
Yes. So thankful for the technology, but then at the same time, it's a catch-22. It can get us negative just as much.
I get to talk on technology, right? It's a good thing, but at the same time, I think misuse, especially for children, it's not a good thing. Oh, I found that quote I wanted to read you.
Oh, perfect.
I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
No, I have not.
Oh my goodness. So there's a quote that he says, in clinical studies, we have been proven that 2 hours of nature sounds a day significantly reduces stress hormones up to 800%. And it activates 500 to 600 DNA segments known to be responsible for healing and repairing the body.
That's amazing. I think I actually read that study.
Yes. Oh, well, even better. I don't know what's better than that. If you hear that, I'm taking my kids out right now. And I can tell you a quick little story about that. My youngest daughter, when we were traveling in India, they had this disease out there called dengue, which is a tropical borne mosquito disease. So everybody was told not to go outside, and we were there for a month. So I kept my kids inside for a month, and we are not indoor people. So, and my husband was in a different part of India doing yoga teacher training. And this girl had a cold and she could not shake the cold at all. And finally I went to go meet up with my husband and we get off the plane. He's like, what's wrong with these kids? They look so sickly. I said, well, they've been inside for a month. And so I didn't want to get dengue. I said, okay, so we went to the beach in the south of India, and we played all day outside down there because they didn't have the dengue. And in the sun and getting all the magnesium, that whole day, at the end of the night, her cold was gone. And I couldn't shake it for 1 month. So that is the power. Anytime my kids are sick, I'm like, we're going outside. We're going to the beach. We're going to go ground yourself. Go play in the dirt, because that is going to heal you. The sun, the vitamin D, all of that heals you. And people don't do that. They stay inside.
They do. And I think it's much needed. And we try to make it a priority. And even people that we work with, we recommend the same thing. But in places like, that's a great example of like the dengue. Like, what do you do in that situation? Like, because you're kind of forced to stay inside.
Well, I was almost going to ignore it, because I'm one of those people who, like, I can heal my kids. When my kids get sick, it's like 6 hours. That's it. We're not the family that gets sick for weeks and weeks.
Yes.
And I had this big box of remedies. I know what to do. So I wasn't scared, but then I thought, well, I've never had to go against dengue. What if my kids did get it? Because people die from it, and I thought, oh, just because I have an ego and I want to go outside, and then my kids die, so all these things started going in my head. I'm like, I should probably listen. I'm not in my own territory. I should probably listen and not go outside. So basically.
That sounds like me.
Yeah.
I travel with all my remedies. Like, I'm ready for anything.
So that's the third thing. And then the fourth common sense thing is exercise. And you tell people, oh, I exercise 2-3 days a week. Really? And I tell people, so do you eat 2-3 days a week? Do you poop 2-3 days a week? Everything, that's like a given. Like, if you eat every day, you need to exercise every day, because you need to move your lymph. Because if you don't move your lymph, disease will set in. And just think of it like that. Like, if you go to the bathroom every day, you walk every day,
Yeah, that's a great point. Even like for rest days, I mean, I love working out, so I'm like 5 days a week, but even for people on rest days, you can still have an active rest day, whether it's going for a walk or going on a hike through nature. It doesn't always have to be like heavy lifting weights or CrossFit or something like that.
Exactly. Just nature.
Yes, definitely. And like you said, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Lower cortisol, get some nature, get some vitamins. I mean, you really can't.
So you see, all of these things are free, so people come in. So you asked me that question, what do we do for the digestion? Stool test, do this. But then if you look at the lifestyle, oh, they don't do this, they don't do this, they don't do this. Well, this is how they got like this. So people don't hear it, because you can't bottle it up. I can't sell you nature. I can't sell you, these are simple things.
I'm sure they'll try in the future. I'm sure there'll be a bottle of nature. Going back to what you said earlier about how to detect illness before it happens, can you go more into that?
Yeah. So there are 3 body systems, okay, that you're going to look at in your kid. And this is how you're going to know that your kid is sick or not, or going to get sick. So the first thing is, you want to look at the mouth. So you want to look at their breath, and you want to look at their tongue. So the breath will be normally, if your child has bad breath, there's something wrong, because children don't normally have bad breath. Their breath is usually sweet. So if they have bad breath, you'll also see maybe a coating on the tongue, and that will tell you they've got some gut issues. Okay, there's something going on. There's mucus in the body. There's something going on. So basically, you want to that's the very first thing. They're going to get sick. So what are you going to do about it? Okay, so you got to get the mucus out of the body. That's the first thing. You give them greens. I always give my kids a green juice when I see that kind of stuff happening. Usually, and this basically means that there's undigested food in the colon. They have constipation. And anytime you ask them, do you have constipation when they have bad breath, they're going to say, yeah, I can 100% tell you. So basically, you want to help them to get the poop out. That's one of the first things are there's this remedy called Trikatu, which is an Ayurvedic herb. You can buy it on Amazon. It's by Organic India. And basically that cuts mucus. It's long pepper, short pepper, and ginger. And it cuts mucus out of the body. Wow. And that's a great thing you can give them. It's very easy. It's just spices basically. And it cuts mucus out of the body. That's very good. And then the second thing is you can look at their poop and see what's going on with their poop. See, the problem is in Western medicine, no one really asks you about your poop. But in Eastern medicine, they go, oh yeah, tell me your digestion. Oh yeah, it started as constipation. No wonder you have XXX problem, right? It's common sense in the Eastern tradition, but in Western, they don't say that. So constipation always leads to headaches, okay? Because you're dehydrated, okay? Every time my daughter has a headache, I'm like, did you poo today? No. Well, that's why.
Yeah.
And people pop ibuprofen. It's like, no, don't do that.
Yes.
So basically, constipation leads to headaches, and it can lead to food allergies. Then it can lead to fill in the blank colon cancer, fill in the blank breast cancer, fill in the blank whatever disease you want to say.
Yeah.
It all starts right there with the constipation. Because what happens when you don't take the trash out in your house?
Starts to stink.
Right? So the breath, everything. So everything's going to start stinking, right? All the body systems are going to start falling apart. I remember once I was watching Dr. Oz, and he asked some of the people in the audience, you know, how often they had a bowel movement. And I kid you not, there were people that raised their hands and said once a week. And I literally fell over on my couch thinking, oh my God, once a week?
So bad. I hear it once a week a lot too. And another thing that I hear a lot is like people, they don't even look at it. Like they don't even look at what it looks like, anything. And I'm like, how can you go and not look at it? That tells you so much.
I know. I used to inspect my kids' poo when they were young. I mean, not now. They're teenagers. They'd be horrified. But I asked them. I tell them to look at the Bristol stool chart. I'm like, what does that look? What does it look like? You know, because that'll tell me what's going on in the state of the body. But no, they don't. Once a week. It just completely blew my mind. And then it just, when you're walking around with all that trash in, you're going to be angry. You're going to be miserable. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to have problems. That's the first sign. In fact, I even joke with my kids when we're driving on the freeway and I'll see all this road rage, or I'll see angry people. I'll say, you know what? People need to get off the freeway, go home, go poo, and then get back on the freeway. And I think everybody would be so much nicer, you know, because it's true. It's just get the gunk out. You can
so true. Even when I was pregnant and like I got constipated because I just had no more room, I was so frustrated. I'm like, I just want a good stool. Like, how much is that? I just want that. So it is frustrating. I feel like even if I go through little bouts of like, oh, it's just pebbly, I just need to drink more, I'm just not drinking enough, or I'm really stressed or whatever is going on in my life, I like look back and I'm just like, I think I'm just mad because I haven't gone to the bathroom properly.
It's totally true. And it's such a simple pleasure of life.
Yes, it's a much needed process that people totally overlook, and they think it's okay to go like once every 3 days or 4 days. And I'm like,
no, actually in functional medicine, they say you should go 2 to 3 times a day, which can be a lot for some people who hear that, like, oh my God, but that's actually the normal and that's what we're taught in functional medicine.
Yes. And it's more, how many meals you eat, you know, that's how much you should be like pooping and stuff. Yes. 3 is, I have days where it's 3, but definitely my normal is at least 1. And that's probably my normal, which is a good place to start considering some people only go once a week.
Right. Exactly. You're taking the trash out.
Yes.
So I would tell mothers to get your kids up a little bit early in the morning, 5-10 minutes, give them time. Don't rush them off to school. Because a lot of kids, what they do is they go to school and they hold it all day. They don't want to use the public restrooms. These were my daughters. I'm like, I don't want to use the public restroom. I want to come home and do it, right? Or there are some teachers who, I've heard this from some of my patients, where they give the kids an award. Like, if you don't go to the bathroom, you get a point. Kind of like to
oh geez,
not to be disturbing the class, but I'm like, so that poor child is thinking it's good if I hold my poo or my pee because the teacher doesn't want me to, and I'll get a point and then I'll win a prize at the end of the year. And I'm thinking, I just want to slap that teacher because what happens is when this child holds it all day, they come home, it's even harder. It's even harder because you held it all day now. All the liquid is absorbed, and now it's like really hard. Then they can't even poo when they want to. So then it turns in, then they come to our office and then they want to be on, Miralax or whatever, magnesium or whatever it is they want, right? But these are like a simple lifestyle thing. So tell your kids, don't worry about the points, just go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah. And then movement, get them up early in the morning and just basically have them jump on a rebounder for a few minutes, do yoga for 5 minutes, run around the block for 5 minutes. Any of these things will help, move the body, move the stool out of the body. And then another thing is lemon water. Have your kids drink lemon water. I drink hot water and lemon every morning. My kids do it too. I don't care if they have time. In fact, I kill two birds with a stone. I say, we go outside for 5 minutes, we ground and drink your lemon water outside. Do 2 minutes of yoga and then come back in. Or, you know, it's like, I know it's busy in the morning, but at least you got to do it, because one day they're going to leave and they're not going to have any of these systems in place. They're going to be adults who don't know how to take care of their body.
Yeah.
So, and we detox at night. So you want to get the hot water and lemon in to detox all the crud from night. So before sending them off to school. And then drink more soups and liquid foods. These help with the poo and the constipation. And one thing I was going to tell you is, anytime, I learned this in India from one of my professors, she said that constipation always turns into a cold. And I didn't even believe her. I was like, really? Are you serious? And every single person I've ever met, even my children, if I find they're getting the sniffles, I'm like, when did you poop last? Like, oh, 2 days ago. Well, why didn't you tell me? And so now they know when they're constipated, they tell me, Mom, I need something, I need to do something, because they know they don't want to get a cold. And because if you think about it from a common sense point of view, it's all blocked up, right? So your body, your immune system is now, you know, going down because you haven't pooped. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is the skin. You want to look at the skin. So the skin, if you ever notice right before a cold, you will see dry, itchy skin on your child or even yourself. It's basically because the lymphatic system is not hydrated enough to move the toxins out of the body. So you always want to look at the skin. It's the biggest organ of detoxification. The skin is connected to the lymph, which is connected to the liver. So again, hot water and lemon helps clean out the liver, gives them some dandelion tea. It's very,
I love dandelion tea.
Yes, very good for the liver. Also, dry skin equals, you know, dehydration and constipation. So warm baths with Epsom salts with magnesium, that helps pull out the toxins. Because basically, once your lymphatic system is clogged, okay, your immune system goes down. Your immune system goes down, and now viruses and bacteria can now come in.
Love that. I'm writing notes for podcast graphics for social media because I love it. That's definitely something people, I don't really think like that either with the skin, but that makes a great point, and it makes sense. Like if you really think about it and how the immune system works, like that makes sense. That's awesome. And then we'll end a little bit talking about the quick remedies, the spices that you mentioned.
Yes. Yeah, I've kind of already mentioned some of these spices.
Yes.
And I also, there's a couple, the main things are a couple things beyond spices. Before you even get to the spices I mentioned earlier, just to recap, Abhyanga, which is the oil massage. They call this Abhyanga. And basically you start from the head and you go down to the feet and you basically oil the head, the whole head, the arms, and the whole body. And then you can give your child a bath or wipe it off afterwards. I do this twice a day. Once to myself, a self Abhyanga, morning and evening, because I told you they were the best for the Vata types. It basically helps to ground them. So oil massage nourishes the skin. It helps the skin to start to communicate. It helps the neurotransmitters. It helps the hormones. It moves the lymphatic system around, increases the immune system. It's one of the best things to prevent ADHD, and it balances the nervous system. So that is the number one thing I can tell you to prevent all of these problems, okay? In India, what they do is when mothers have their babies, my mom would tell me that there'd be like a doula or a midwife, and they would just come home and they would massage the mother and the baby. It's just a way of life, getting the toxins out. And it's just, yes, I know we don't do any of that here.
No.
So, yeah, so we can tell our husbands, excuse me, but we've just found out through Ayurveda that we're supposed to have a daily massage.
With oil. Yes, please.
Yes. So that is very good. That's going to prevent right there. Okay. And number 2, here's a little quick remedy for a cold. If your child has a cold, take ginger, honey, lemon tea. It is the fastest way to prevent a cold. And like if you know you're getting something, you just sip on this. Many times we feel like we're going to get something. It never turns into something because of this. Because the ginger heats up the fire, the Agni in the body again, and that basically kills viruses. And the lemon takes out the toxins. And hot water soothes the organs. So lemon, honey, ginger tea, really good, quick remedy. Number three, I would say I mentioned Trickatoo, which is the long pepper, short pepper, and that you should have in your cabinet. You can get it on Amazon. It's by Organic India or any other brand that's organic. It is amazing. It's just pepper. If you don't have it, just take pepper then, black pepper, and basically mix it with a little bit of honey, and it cuts out the mucus in the body. That's a very fast remedy. And then the other one would be turmeric. Turmeric is so amazing too. It's anti-inflammatory, kills everything, cancer cells, everything. But I'm not supposed to say that, sorry. But it is like, even when my daughter says, she's like, I feel like something's coming on. My kids now just go to the medicine cabinet, they just mix their own honey and turmeric, and that's their medicine. They just know how to live like this. So you want to teach them these things from a young age, so when they're older, they know this is how, they're not going for ibuprofen or anything like that.
Yes, food is medicine for sure.
Yes, definitely.
I love too, you mentioned Organic India. I've bought their turmeric before. It's such a great company.
Yes, it is. It is.
Their stuff.
Yes.
Awesome. And then where we'll end to, like, where we can find you. I'm sure a lot of people are like, okay, I gotta follow this lady. She sounds awesome. Where can we find you?
I'm Raising Sages Integrative Pediatrics. So it's raisingsagespediatrics.com. I'm on Instagram at Raising Sages. That's my website. You can even contact me through email, sapna@raisingsagespediatrics.com.
Awesome. Was there anything else that we might have forgot that you wanted to add before we finish off?
I would just say in closing, I think the more we live like our ancestors did, they say like primates, I think today, I think children are so bombarded with stimulation from phones and TV and all of these things that honestly, sitting quietly and doing nothing is very beneficial for your child. I don't even think you realize it's actually good for them to get bored, because that's when they become creative, right? Mm-hmm. And just adding in like a little bit of mindfulness, like maybe 5 minutes of meditation. If they can't do 5 minutes, start with 3. You know, they say that teens and kids who do meditation for a few minutes actually have increases in academics. So just doing that and just living as close to nature as you can, and not sitting in a living room with 68 to 70 degree air condition with your TV, you know, indoors all day, that's a recipe for a disease. Just go outside and just live like the way you're supposed to, like our ancestors, our primates did. And I think you'll prevent so many diseases before we go to stool testing and all of that stuff.
Yes. You got to get down the basics before anything else works.
Yeah.
Not always the answer people want to hear, but it's very essential. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate all the information you shared with us.
You're so welcome. My pleasure.